Hello, this is Miss Andrea. I have a lot of homeschool curriculum reviews and um, videos planned for you right now. I'm working on one on integrating history of Indigenous Americans and African Americans into your homeschool history curriculum. But everything I'm planning to do takes a bit of time and a bit of research. But I didn't want to let a Monday pass without giving you something. And at this point, I'm 3 hours past when I wanted this to be done. But I decided to share with you something I did and something that I help other people do. And that is accelerating your homeschool student um, through school. Basically, having them graduate a couple of years early. You may have heard me say that my daughter finished homeschooling at 16 and she was a summer birthday, so she was in college by 17 and she was graduated by 20. And this is the kind of thing that is just super possible when homeschooling. And in all honesty, my daughter was a slacker. She could have done it faster because a couple of times she finished 2 years in 1 year. And then when we got to the middle school years, she decided to lay back and lost some of that extra time she had gained. Likewise, my son was also 2 years ahead, but when he got to what was the 11th grade, when he knew there was only 1 year left, he sat us down and said, I'm not ready for college. Can I do some more in-depth personal study and take 2 years? And so that's what we did. And that's fine, because he got more at-home education than he would have normally gotten because he had made that extra time. So here's the thing. Don't worry about the student's grade level. Worry about what they need to know. The key is learning the curriculum and not marking the grade level. I remember people asking my kids all the time, what grade are you in? And they would just stammer and stutter because they literally didn't know. I didn't have grade levels. I had, this is what you need to know by these certain times. And if you learn them faster, awesome. Um, so there was a time where, say, my 11-year-old, when she was 11, was at a high school reading comprehension level and right where she was supposed to be in math and maybe 2 grade levels up in history and 1 grade level up in science. Do you know what I mean? So I would just say, she's this old. Do you know what I mean? And people would tilt their head and wonder what I meant. But if your child is home learning, then we can strip away all those grades and things like that. If you think about how school worked before it became standardized, think of one-room schoolhouses. Everybody was in the same room, and everyone kind of learned at their own speed. And some people graduated way before other people who started at the same time. And that's the beauty of being able to homeschool. It's going at your own pace. So let's go through different subjects, shall we? Reading and comprehension. This is probably the most important. You're going to need 3 book lists. You're going to need a book list for what your elementary student should read. And you'll get this at any bookstore. They'll say these are the novels that your child should read by, 5th or 6th grade. And then there'll be another one that says this is what your child should read before entering high school. And there's another one that says this is what your child should read before going to college. Don't worry about that designation of when they should have it read. Just compile a list, put it in order of, which goes where. Take out the books that either won't interest your child or, is not right for your child's maturity at that age. Maybe move it down the list to the later age grade. And then start basically wherever your kid is and go forward. Just start reading. Read everything they can get their hands on. All of that reading will build comprehension. You can go to a site called Spark Notes and get questions and answers from most books that kids can read. So you can have a little discussion with your child after each book. Math. The same math functions are taught year after year. And every year when the school year starts in public school, they review what has happened the previous year. Don't take the break in math. My kids did math, with the exceptions of 2 weeks I would give them off in the summer and 2 weeks at Christmas. My kids did math 5 days a week for the whole time they were homeschooling. That way, with the exception of a quick review every now and then before I gave a standardized test, they never had that 2-month brain drain. So they were just able to keep going, straight through. You learn your elementary math, multiplication, division, fractions, decimals, converting those back and forth. Then we slide into pre-algebra. We work our way through algebra. We decide if we're going to do algebra 2 or geometry first. That's up to you. Get a little trig in there. We might make it to calculus. Just pick the path of math that they want to take based on what they want to do. Because some kids don't need calculus and some kids need trig, depending on whether or not they're visual spatial. We can have other conversations about that later. If you have a question about what I'm saying, ask. There's no way I can know everything that you're going to want to know. But if you ask me, you better believe I'll answer you. Wow, my phones are just beeping their butts off right now. So ask the question and I will answer it, but don't take long breaks from math. Do math 4 or 5 days a week, always, all the time, no breaks. And that's going to accelerate your kids through math a couple of years worth at least. Okay. The programs I like for doing this, for accelerating through math, are Khan Academy and alex.com. Basically, when you go to the next grade, you take a test and it says you already know this, 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 and this. So now you don't have to worry about those subjects, and now you can do the things that you had to relearn for whatever reason and then start learning the new material. Bada boom, bada bing, right? History. Basically, just make sure that your student has a good grasp of American and world history. Facts are important. Motivations, why people did the things they did, are just as important. History is another subject that is repeated. You get a light pass at the history topics in elementary school, in middle school. They give you those same history topics again. In high school, they do it again. It's not necessary. Once they hit age, typically, once they hit what would be 6th grade, I'm going to say 10, 11, 12. Just start at the beginning and work your way through in American history, and then do it again for world history. And they'll know it. They'll know it. Documentaries are a good way to learn history. I like to follow a history textbook spine, which means I use a table of contents for whatever book. And sometimes I use the chapter test in it to make sure we've covered the material. But honestly, any topic in the history book, you can pull up documentary on. Way more interesting. Way more interesting. It's a really good way to learn history. Period. Science. Science needs to be hands-on. They need to be up to their elbows in it, whether they're dissecting something or trying to blow something up. Like, seriously. Um, the cool thing about science and homeschool is you can take these science classes and these museum classes and all these science activities through homeschool groups, through museums, through whatever. And each one of them is kind of worth a half a credit. So I like to just see a bunch of half credits in science, but they need to cover a year's worth of biology and 2 other lab sciences before you graduate them. And they need to be labs. And labs are usually pretty easy to find within the community. Okay, also compete in science fairs, send them to science camps. Space camp is a half credit. You know, an astronomy program at the local museum is another half credit. So, you know, there we have our space science. So just, you know, just have fun with it, but don't forget those labs because the colleges are gonna look for them. It's not a race. I mean, it is a race because we want to accelerate our kids. We want to get them to a point where they can start taking college classes while they're young, because when you do enroll, those college classes are kind of free. So that's cool. But it's really just a race against themselves. And what you're looking for is to find your child's gifting and that subject matter that your child is amazing in. Like, that's what you want to do. And then when you pinpoint that, then you want to see how far they can go, how much they can learn in the allotted time. They will naturally accelerate in classes they are gifted in. They will do average in others. It's okay. All colleges are looking for is for maturity, to be able to handle the coursework, and giftedness in 1 or 2 areas. You don't have to be good at everything. You ever hear at the end of the year when those kids want to sue the colleges because some kid they've decided wasn't smarter than them got in and they didn't? It's because the kid who's suing was checking all the boxes and doing on paper what seemed like the right thing to do, getting like 4.8 out of 4.0 GPA, you know, just being kind of good at everything. But then there's this kid who might have just been super average in math, who has a mind for literature like no one else. And the colleges want students who are going to do well and graduate their schools, but they also want students whose names they can put on a list and say, this kid went to our school. This kid who did great things in the world went to our school. So they're looking for people to shine in areas. They're not looking for people to be perfect. Believe it or not. Assessment. Test scores. As a homeschooler, you do not have to standardize tests more than once every 3 years. However, if acceleration is your goal, you're going to want to know where the children has holes, and those holes are going to show up differently every year. So, take standardized tests every year. Do it over the summer. The CAT, California Achievement Test, is easy to get your hands on and administer through many websites. And once they hit high school, they can take the PSAT up until 11th grade, and then they can take the SAT and ACT pretty much as often as they want to. This is a great way to figure out what's missing. What did we miss? You know, because sometimes that thing that you miss keeps them from moving forward. So it's important to find out if there's something they're just not getting. And the test will show you that. And once you figure that out and fix that problem, now they can continue to accelerate forward. Dip a toe into college. Just a little toe. Depending on maturity, it's actually not unheard of for students to start taking classes at local community colleges as early as 10th grade. Many colleges have dual enrollment programs which, by the way, are free. You can't beat that. I recommend no more than 1 or 2 classes the first semester that they do that. That way they can get used to what it's expecting. They can get used to the idiosyncrasies of college. They can get used to the game. Some kids play it better than others, no matter how smart they are. So I would keep that first semester a small load. Okay? And if that's not necessary, or even if that's not necessary, you can also simultaneously test your way through college classes. Many homeschoolers and adult learners take advantage of a program called CLEP. There's other programs called DSST also. It allows you to accelerate through college by studying at home and taking a test. It costs just over $100 a class, and it's far cheaper than paying for the credit hours in college. This usually carries the same weight that an AP class that a public school student would take carries. And it does depend on the goal college, because some colleges will be like, oh, you took CLEPs, that proves you're super smart, but we're Yale, so you're still taking freshman literature. Doesn't matter what you got on the CLEP exam. But you can also take AP exams and SAT subject tests that will prove that you know this information also. So that's all I have. I hope this information was valuable to you. If you need any kind of clarification, please ask the question. I will answer it. I'll make a whole video for you. How's that? Till next time. This has been Miss Andrea with a guide to accelerating your homeschool student. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Till next time.